Ever since the Nintendo Switch came out, the whole cartridge situation's been kind of a mess. I mean, yeah, it's fun and nostalgic to incorrectly refer to the media as cartridges to piss sticklers off, and they are delicious and everything, but apparently for games larger than 8 gigabytes, they're also more expensive to manufacture than Blu-rays. And unfortunately, this issue's led to some publishers putting small portions of their higher-end games onto the smaller cartridges, with the rest to be downloaded later on, sometimes even with a download code that you can only use one time. But for whatever reason, I'm pretty sure I was the only person actively making videos calling companies out for these half-assed physical releases. Maybe everyone wanted to keep getting free review copies, I don't know. At any rate though, fast forward a few years later, and some publishers aren't even bothering with cartridges anymore, and they're just releasing boxes with download codes. And for whatever reason, this is when a lot of people decided that things went too far. But while I'm definitely not a fan of physical boxes being sold with download codes, I still think it's a hell of a lot better than releasing cartridges with half the game missing. Why is that, you ask? Well, pull your favorite chair out, set it on fire, sit down on the ground next to it so you could keep warm, don't do anything I just said because there's probably legal trouble for me if you do, press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and allow me, the world's smartest 4-year-old Cameron all one word, to tell you why download codes and boxes are still better than partial physical releases. Alright, so don't get me wrong, the point of this video is not to defend physical download codes by any means, but long story short, if you're gonna put a game out on the market physically that makes you download a large portion of it digitally anyway, and it kinda defeats the purpose of releasing a game physically in the first place. I mean, the best part about physical releases is that you could resell them at any point, so in that respect, it really doesn't matter if you need a massive day 1 patch, because you'll still be able to sell the game. However, in the case of the Nintendo Switch, which is mainly what we're gonna be focusing on in this video, the physical cartridges usually come with the infamous Switch tax. And despite paying extra, the full game's not even on the cartridge most of the time anyway, and if the full game isn't going to be on the cartridge, then I'd rather the game just be sold digitally if it means not getting a Switch tax, because if the physical copy gets a Switch tax, and that means they're going to have to put the same inflated price on the eShop too, since it just pissed retailers off to have a cheaper version being sold elsewhere. I'd still never buy the physical download codes myself, but the way I look at it is at least these types of releases are upfront about what they're trying to be, as opposed to other physical releases made by publishers whose names I won't mention. Mostly Capcom. Games like the Mega Man Legacy Collection and NBA 2K69 used to have this giant warning label on the box that you can't miss, which I'm sure led to many people avoiding these altogether. But since I'm sure the below-oversized N wanted to keep third parties happy, they decided to help deceive the consumer by making the warning label even harder to read, and sometimes even leaving the disclaimer out altogether. Again, you can still resell some of these games, but along with the Switch tax jacking the price up, some of the compilations come with download codes that can only be used one time for some of the games that are supposed to be included. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather just have it all digitally than pay 10 extra bucks and still not be able to resell the game anyway. I mean, just imagine if a TV series tried doing the same thing with the DVD box set and only included half the episodes. With the download code, you can only use one time on one DVD player for the rest of the episodes. I mean, I can be pretty reasonable in cases like the dual pack for Resident Evils 1 and 0, since Capcom would have had to use the most expensive Switch cartridges available to fit both games, which cost 4 times as much as a Blu-ray if some guy in Nintendo life's to be believed. And if you ask me, I think he or she should be, because it seems like the best explanation for what games publishers are willing to put on cartridges and what they aren't. But even when it's understandable that a developer wouldn't want to use the most expensive cartridges though, I'd still rather both of those games had just gotten standalone physical releases for half the price, or just be digital-only titles. I mean, both Mega Man X Legacy Collections got their own physical releases in Japan, but for some reason, everyone else in the world had to deal with the download code scam. And if you think it's rude of me to accuse Capcom of scamming us, then just look at how they handled the regular Mega Man Legacy Collection. Both of those games are less than 4 gigabytes combined, which would require a Switch cartridge cheaper than a Blu-ray, but Capcom pretended that they couldn't put 2 games on the same cartridge, so what they did was put the 400 megabyte game on the cheapest Switch cartridge available while making us download the second half of the collection. Not only did this save Capcom money on manufacturing costs, but it also robbed us of our ability to resell the game, and worst of all, this meant that I still can't own Mega Man's 9 and 10 physically. I mean, I could just get the PS4 version, I guess, but I want them on a cartridge, damn it. Ugh, first world problems, am I right? And don't even get me started on Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. Not only was that game less than 8 gigabytes and nothing that was graphically demanding, it still cost $10 more on the Switch just because Playtonic knew they can get away with it. And seeing as how I'm the only friggin' person who called them out on it in a video, I'd say they got off scot-free. I'm sure there's some digital-only people who've already commented about how all this is just proof that physical media needs to die in a grease fire, but what those people literally refuse to try understanding is that while digital media does have many benefits, it's very important that we don't lose physical media altogether, and that the only reason why the quality's been declining in recent years is because developers are abusing the old release now patch later method. Nintendo made their cartridges way too expensive, and mainly because we all just kinda let it happen. But while reselling games can sometimes hurt publishers though, it's still important that we don't sacrifice that power, because physical releases don't have to be worse. It's just that we're allowing it to happen is all. And I really do think that publishers are doing it on purpose so they can make more money. If you buy a game digitally and hate it, you're usually stuck with it in most cases, and even if you loved the game and still want to sell it anyway, you just can't, which is obviously fine if you don't want to sell games in the first place, but wanting to get rid of the option based on your own personal preference is just plain silly. But then again, I don't even know why I'm bothering trying to explain that to some of the digital-only people, because while most people in the physical camp will happily admit that there are benefits to digital, some of the digital fans are in complete denial that physical could possibly have any advantages, and whenever you try to explain any of these advantages to them, they always respond with, yeah, well, have fun getting up and changing cartridges every time you want to play a different game, well. And I don't know about you, but I don't think there's anything more frustrating than dealing with people who drop the mic after making a stupid point. Again though, I've got to reiterate that I think digital's an awesome option to have. In fact, I actually prefer it for everything but video games. And even then, I've built quite the digital library up if I do say so myself. I mean, I could easily see why one would only buy games digitally, which is why I have no problem with publishers not even bothering with physical releases, and I even understand why they'd want physical download codes in store so more people will actually see them. Because again, at least they're honest about what they're trying to sell instead of jacking the price up and still not fitting the game on the cartridge anyway. But my problem is when companies try tricking us into thinking physical media is obsolete so they can make more money off digital games that they don't have to manufacture and ship to retailers that we can't resell whenever we want to. I mean, just look at the physical release of LA Noire back in 2017. That game used one of the higher end cartridges that cost more to manufacture, which would have been fine if they actually put the game on the cartridge, but the problem with that is that the game didn't even fit on the cartridge anyway, which defeats the entire purpose of a physical release in the first place. If you can't play a physical game without the internet, then these discs and cartridges are essentially just physical copies of digital download codes anyway. And yeah, it is still nice to be able to resell these games, but it's still not worth paying 10 extra bucks for is all I'm saying, which is why I commend Bethesda for not jacking the prices up and only putting part of the game on the cartridge anyway. Honestly, I don't really mind paying a Switch tax, but if I do, the full game better be on the cartridge and not need any kind of day one update to be playable. Otherwise, just publish your game digitally and don't be a dick. But anyway, what do you think about download codes being sold in retail cases, though? You think publishers should stop releasing crappy physicals? Should Nintendo find a way to lower cartridge costs? Or do you think we should just sacrifice all our power and go digital? Either way, vote for what you think in the upper right-hand corner. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, I'll try my goddamnedest to respond to everybody. But let me tell you, if there's two people who I'd buy physicals and digital copies of, then it would definitely be today's patrons of the day, Alec Duncan and Aaron Cortez. If you want to be badasses like these two, then consider supporting FU Game Crew on Patreon for loot boxes in the mail and other wacky rewards. And if you want to make a cameo, then send pictures or videos of you rocking any FU Game Crew merch like these legendary human beings you see before you. As always, like and share this video anywhere on the internet to help this channel grow. And if you want to prove that you're not down with registered sex offenders, then go ahead and press the subscribe button if you haven't already. My name's Cameron, all one word, and I'll be back with more videos soon.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.